tense state of politics right now. We have Charlie Kirk, founder and president of Turning Point USA, and Candace Owens, Turning Point's communications director. They're in Washington to meet with the president. Welcome to you two. Can I just first ask, what is this event, and what are we going to be seeing the next couple of days here in D.C.?
You know, we had received so much interest over a period of time in this sort of youth black conservative movement, and it felt like we really wanted to harness the power and the opportunity and invite everyone to D.C., first and foremost, to bring them to conservative ideas. A major hurdle that the black community faces is not having the resources to get to different ideas and sort of being locked inside of a bubble. And having them listen to speakers that they perhaps haven't heard before, Dr. Ben Carson, Larry Elder, people who are routinely mocked in our community. So this is the first ever opportunity to do that in D.C., and we're really excited that it's happening this weekend.
Charlie, what are you hoping that the president gets out of these interactions?
Well, I first want to take a step back and just give Candace Owens credit for changing the national conversation around these issues from a conservative kind of perspective over the last year. When I first met Candace, one of the first things she said is, she said, Charlie, I think we can have a young black leadership summit that can be a lot bigger than any of the pundits or the consultants would ever dream. And I mean, tomorrow, 400 plus young black leaders from across the country. That's an accomplishment that, especially of a conservative, tilt, if you will.
And the number could have been much higher.
And that's right. And so the number could have been higher, and it was the...
Oh, what's going on here? Oh, this lady right here didn't like her. She did not like that. She's not smiling.
Influx of interest. And we
Zero
had
smile.
Probably 5x that in applicants and in inquiries. But what Candace Owens and our urban engagement director, Brandon Tatum, have done at Turning Point USA to really garner more interest amongst the black community for conservative values, I think it's worth having the conversation, and it's something that, given all the recent news and attention around these issues, I think is something that will be quite interesting tomorrow.
Candace, there's obviously a bit of skepticism. As long as I've been in the game of conservative politics, as long as I've been a conservative, which is probably about sophomore year of high school, there have been conversations about how do conservatives win over more of the black community. There have been some prominent leaders. You mentioned Dr. Ben Carson, others who have come forward and have tried to get this conversation going. What are you seeing that's different now, really? Like, why is it? I mean, to Charlie's point, he's saying that you've changed the conversation. How?
I mean, so far so good. I don't see what's the problem, right?
And why is the conversation different?
It's funny that you say that, because I was able to meet with Dr. Ben Carson early on this year, and we spoke about that. Like, what are the differences? Why are people paying a little more attention now? And I think that, and to his credit, in the past, the conversation was almost so intellectual that it was hard for people to digest and process and to understand. And because the left had won the culture war, it was easy for them to mock them, to see a skit where perhaps Dr. Ben Carson or Dr. Condoleezza Rice are being mocked. And I think I'm a little more of a fighter, definitely in terms of starting my channel on YouTube and wanting it to be colloquial and wanting it to feel familiar, like you were talking to your brother and sister, and sort of taking back some of the turf that was lost on the culture war by making fun of people on the left in the same way that they make fun of us. I think that sort of helped.
So basically just like a boomerang. It's basically a boomerang effect. They throw, and I just throw back.
Bridge the gap and make people more interested in having the discussion. Does it bother you that there's no prominent African Americans in the White House itself?
Sure there is. Jaron, Dr. Ben Carson's part of the executive branch. That's not true. That's not true.
Well, within the White House itself.
Jaron is an executive with Jared Kushner.
What is his role?
He's a DAP, which is a Deputy Assistant to the President of the United States, which is a top tier. So that's not true.
Who are other individuals in the White House?
Well, I want to go back and answer your question. So, one thing that we always speak when we speak to conservatives about is we have to stop believing in this illusion that because somebody is black, they represent my interests. We learned that lesson via Barack Obama. I mean, he was in the White House for 8 years and didn't do much for the black community. So I'm not interested in the color of people's skin. So I'm interested in what they do and what they accomplish.
I'm really interested in your perspective here. Yeah. So to you having, you don't look at, it is an administration that has more white men than past administrations have had. Yeah, but that doesn't bother you. You don't think that diversity is important?
No, not at all. I think that we have to stop believing that diversity is the color of people's skin, because if you have, the Black Caucus, for example, which didn't stand up and applaud when Trump announced that we had the lowest ever unemployment in the black community, that's concerning to me. So a big part of the conversation that we open is in making people understand that's an illusion that the left has sold, that somehow because somebody matches my skin color, because somebody matches my gender, they have my best interests at heart. And that
she just went at it. She just going through a rant. She just went at it.
It's completely fallacious.
I have to ask about Kanye. You two have been
She's
seen
not liking it, though.
with
That lady, she's not liking it. I think her name is Crystal. She's not liking it at all. She's just looking at the guy, his partner, whatever it is. Like, can I just say something? She's not liking it at all.
Spend time with Kanye. I got a tremendous, we have to speak about it on the show, got a tremendous amount of attention from the media for a recent meeting in the Oval Office.
He's a shit guy.
How does he factor? Look, I feel like conservatives play this game that we go back and forth. If anybody who's famous starts talking in any way that conservatives like, we embrace them right away, and then sometimes we feel like we get burned later. They're not as conservative as we thought.
All right, that's a point.
Kanye has such a huge megaphone. He's obviously somewhat of a controversial figure as well.
But I don't think Kanye West is a conservative guy. He's just a guy that's in an opinion. I don't think he represents anything. I think he's just representing individualism rather than liberal conservatism. Let me know if I'm wrong.
Based on what he said in the past. Charlie, just to start with you, how does he play into all this other than, I want to hear from both of you on this, but how does he play into all this other than just getting a lot of attention? You know what I mean? How is he changing the conversation?
I'll be the first one to admit, I was your typical macroeconomic loving kind of conservative individual that wasn't part of the culture that, you got
a high paperback in your bag.
I know what I mean. I became a conservative based on reading Free to Choose and Ludwig von Mises. And I think it's amazing that someone like Kanye West is broadening the conversation. And it was Candace that opened my eyes to this. And I wasn't that I was resistant, but I was like, really, Candace? Wait, what do you mean that we can? She said, no, you don't understand. From one of the first times I met Candace said, Charlie, Kanye West can change the national conversation around these issues, and I think that he's more of a Trump supporter than people give credit.
Interesting.
In fact, Candace is on record with our friend Dave Rubin saying this back in September of 2017, kind of predicting the Kanye movement, I guess you could say.
The Kanye movement.
Kanye movement, yeah.
I'm going to use that word, and I think that's true.
I've sort of followed Kanye's career for a very long time, so when I was asked that question of who I admire, I said Kanye West, because he's always been, long before Donald Trump came down the escalator, it was Kanye West that's been the battering ram against political correctness, and I knew that someone with his personality wasn't going to be able to exist comfortably on the left anymore, because we are now being told what to think, how we have to think, who we have to love, who we have to hate, and that's not comfortable for anybody.
A lot of sugar. Liberal whole snap at Candace Owens. Instant regret it. Okay, I want to see that, right? It's not happening. She's just saying that sugary stuff.
As an artist, and their stranglehold on culture is really
Nothing
what
wrong,
Kanye is sort of taking a stab at. Now, I want to be clear, based off of my conversations with him, he's not a Republican, and I think that that's an important thing to distinguish and to make clear distinction to make, because in many ways I've said I'm not a Republican either, but he is a free thinker, and he values ideas, and unfortunately, if you believe in the ability to think and to have a dialogue, that is a position that's on the right today.
So, Candace, I do want to ask you about news of the day. Obviously, we have all these explosive devices that have been sent to prominent critics of this administration.
Right.
And in a tweet, you originally said you thought there was zero chance conservatives sent bombs. I think you took that tweet down.
Yeah.
But you later added, it isn't conservatives that are chasing people down in offices and restaurants. It isn't conservatives that have weaponized sexual assault as a means to political gain. I stand by my opinion that when it comes to political violence, the left is the likely culprit.
That's correct. So we've seen that.
So you think that it was the left or Democrats who sent these pipe bombs?
I think we're all entitled to have an opinion. We don't have any facts surrounding this, and Twitter is a venue where you're allowed to express your opinions and beliefs. And
but certainly, just to be clear, so that's not based on any facts.
Here we go.
That's just
of course,
your
it could possibly be based on facts. We don't have any evidence other than the fact that they're investigating it. But
I'll come to Candace's.
I do want to finish this by just saying that. It is my belief, when you take a look at the conversation, the things that have gone on, and the increasing violence that's gone on, it has purely been a leftist tactic to stall things, delay the administration, and to fearmonger. So, as a matter of opinion, I do believe that when we get to the resolution, the bottom of this, and we do have facts, we're going to say that this is orchestrated by the left, but by no means is that opinion rooted in any proof, because we don't have anything yet to go off of.
I could certainly point to Charlottesville. I could point to other acts that happen. I could point to Dylan Roof. I mean, there's certainly acts of violence that have come on.
But do you see how far back you have to go to do that?
Ago.
Charlottesville?
Yeah, that's literally starting at the beginning of his administration.
Okay, so the host clearly has an intention to. What I'm seeing is her intention is just one up Candace. So she did her homework. She went a couple years ago. She brought a tweet. That's good. Okay? She can't prepare.
Look at all the things
that's
that
actually
have gone
not.
Look at Charlie.
I
Charlie,
don't
like,
want to
what?
have this debate because ugliness can come from both sides.
No, I'm just saying that you brought it up.
I do want to ask you, though.
Just answering the question.
I mean, you've got a big platform.
I do.
Right? And you have a powerful voice.
Thank you.
And kudos to you for creating that.
Thank you.
How do you view the responsibility
she's like,
that comes
wow.
with that?
I view the responsibility of...
We call that in sales preparing the buying question, right? So we take control of the conversation instead of getting to rebuttal. Say we ask a couple questions, we go to the close. That's what she said. You have a great platform. Yeah, I do. And not only you have a powerful voice. You have to do right. You have to be prepared for that. I caught it. Let's see.
Just being a person that maintains my ability to have an opinion, that I express an opinion, and no means that I say that I have just found the facts and this is related.
Yeah.
And I always reserve the right.
There's 0% chance.
Yeah. I said I'm going to go out and say that there is a 0% chance that this was sent by conservatives. I find all the things that are going on, the caravan of illegals, the packages that are being sent, Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation.
And you think the caravan too was organized by Democrats?
I find it to be incredibly suspicious timing, so that they are meant to get to the border on the day of the election. Again, this is not rooted in fact, but you do have to understand I am very much entitled to my opinion, and Twitter is my platform.
Candace, I have one more.
Just one more here, because I
She's smiling because she knows she's getting through her skin. That's why she's smiling. She's like, she's a liberal. You can tell she's a liberal. She cannot handle that. She's not ready for that. She's not ready.
I wanted to get to know you before you came on.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in your perspective. I think you're a
self-technique
person.
Thank you.
There was another tweet.
Let me just elevate her ego. You're great and blah, blah, blah. And then let me just get you with something. That way you can open up a little bit. That's what's going on.
That said, the Democratic Party is comprised of racist white liberals.
That is correct.
Am I a racist white liberal?
Well, let's go back. And let's say, I will say this, that many people in the party are not aware of their own racism. Let's go back to an early part of this conversation where you said to me, are you concerned about the color in the White House? Why would you ask me that question?
Because you speak about black issues.
No, but why would you ask me? Well, let's get to really the nucleus of this. Why did you ask me that question today?
Because I'm
why did you feel that I
she called her out. About? She literally called her out. Wow. In the middle of the set. Wow. Called her out.
That.
Because you're bringing a whole group of young African-American leaders to the White House.
Okay, so this is something that I talk about often, is that in many ways, white liberals don't realize that you put on that, the racism and the conversations that we have.
So you're saying I'm a racist?
You haven't let me finish my statement. You keep cutting me off.
Go ahead.
Okay? The emphasis that you place is always on having a discussion about race.
Wow.
Okay? You guys are insistent on having a conversation about race and telling us that we should see, and implying that we should see race everywhere, and I don't agree with that. If you don't look at me according to the color of my skin, you would simply ask me how I thought that Trump was doing as a president. But instead, you try to drum up a conversation that's surrounded by race by asking me, are there enough black people in the White House?
You're bringing a whole group of young black leaders to the White House.
Color, I don't.
That's something that's important to you.
But why are you talking about?
Then why make it that?
Yeah, she cannot accept that. That's the problem. She cannot accept that reality. That Democrat cannot accept the reality that this lady, Candace, oh whatever, Mrs. Owens, cannot think for herself. She just called her out, and she knows that, oh my God, I got just caught up on this situation. I need to get out of it.
And bring young black leaders to the White House. I mean, this is sort of absurd.
Because the media,
this is absurd. You're bringing this group to the White House.
It's not absurd. I'm making perfect sense.
I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
I just want to be clear.
I'm trying to be extremely clear with you.
I know.
Bringing the black conservatives to the White House.
As not let her speak.
I think that you're not. First off, you put those words in my mouth, and you keep saying it. So I'm not. I said that the Democrat Party is comprised of racist white liberals. Is every person in the party racist? No, but you're not aware of the fact that you put these racist tones out into the media. This is why we have to bring the black conservatives to the president. Because you create a narrative when you're on TV like you did today.
Are you comfortable with
the fact? I'm going to have you on radio later because I have questions for you.
She was not ready for that. She was not ready, bro. I'm telling you, she was not ready. She was never ready because it clear in base what I'm seeing from Candace, Mrs. Owens. She is ready for this, right? She's been debating the left side of the aisle for years now. She's ready for the. If she said it herself and some other interviews that she was a liberal herself, and she's young, so she had time to internalize a lot of these things. The lady in the right, Mrs. Crystal, she cannot believe what is going on. So she having like a conscience of dissonance right now, and she wanted to one up her because she got one up. That's what is going on.
For you as well, but we actually have to get out of the segment now.
Do you think that language is helpful, though? I mean, just in terms of the national conversation.
I could ask you, do you think it's helpful to ask me, just because I'm a black woman, if I'm comfortable with the amount of color that's on the administration? Do you think that that's helpful?
I think it's helpful and interesting to know your perspective.
It's not. It's you just trying to create an undertone that Donald Trump is racist, and it's wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
To me, is the reason why.
Listen, no.
This is insane. She cannot let it go. She cannot let it go.
I just my skin color, making a bunch of, and making a bunch of deductions. I did not. You said that. You run the tape back. You said that.
Here's what I want to say.
You quoted a tweet and then you made it about me. So you were not at it, but you
She's
were not
ready,
at
bro.
In that tweet, so do not say
You have to read the smoke. She's ready. She ain't playing.
And we are on TV, so you can run.
Racist.
Okay, so
you're not ready for that.
I did not call you racist. You're using the typical leftist tactic of trying to make yourself a victim, which is not what I always do.
No, but we're actually.
Oh,
she's making herself a victim and pretending that I came here and called her racist. So this is a typical leftist tactic.
She was not ready for that, bro. I mean, she knows it's true. She's using victimhood cards here, like the victimhood card. Like, it's true. Why the conversation has to be about race, right? Why things have to be about race? Why not only be about public policy? Can we just get to the nitty gritty about the problem and that's it?
Not demonize our opponents.
And I think it's important that you not demonize my president.
And one thing that I try very hard to do is to criticize the policies.
Okay.
And criticize people who are in positions of power.
I'm not sure how you were doing that by pointing out the color in the administration.
But not to criticize the people who support the president.
You literally spoke
That's
about
something I try very hard to do.
But you're not doing a very good job of it.
And I think it's really important.
I think it's really important that you be aware that just because I'm a black woman, you don't need to ask me a question as basic enough as saying how much color is in the administration.
To demonize our fellow Americans?
I think what's problematic is that you are creating a simulation that is dishonest, that is accusing our president of being racist based off of the color of the people that are in the. That's exactly what you asked me a question. That's what you implied.
Okay, I actually really appreciate you two coming in very much, and I look forward to getting to ask you some questions of my own at some point later on. And
like Charlie's like, what? This is not.
Thank you, and good luck at the White House today, and thank you for bringing young African American leaders into D.C.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll see you guys.
Oh, look at her. She's not having it.
Sent all over the country have brought up an interesting question. Will the rhetoric on either side actually cool off?
Oh, that's it.
NBC's Megyn Kelly, had a pretty major mistake.
Oh, she's not liking it, bro.
Should it be?
Now, I use my iPhone all the time, but I'm not the president. New reporting on Trump's unsecure cell phone and who might be listening in. Team Rising is in next to talk about all of that.
Bro, she was not ready. She was not ready. This is what happened. And most importantly, if you notice, she was not debating. It was a stance, right? She was not clearly debating policy, stuff like that. It was a stance. The person named Crystal, she was not ready for it. She clearly was not ready for it. And Candace, Mrs. Owens, she knew what was going on. And Charlie knew, like, I'm not going to step in. I'm not stepping because she can handle herself. She can handle herself. Right? And he knew he knew Candace, Mrs. Owens, was doing a good job, so he just let it go. Right? If this is the thing, this is when you trust your partner in a battle like this. You just let him do his thing. Or in this case, her thing. Wow. Very interesting because Mrs. Owens have a good point. Why has to be about race? Doesn't really matter. Can you do the job? If it happens that all the people can do the job are Chinese, I'm not being, YouTube from Asia, that's okay. That means that they can't do the job. I don't care. But Mrs. Crystal, based on her argument, she really wanted to point out that, boy, there's not a lot of minorities and this and that. When it doesn't really matter, he or she can do the job. That's what it matters. If it happens to all of them are aliens, it's okay that all of them are aliens. If all the aliens can do the job, we're okay with it. Okay? The nation needs to strive with the best, right? And the best are not under certain groups. It's just in the individuals. Well, that was a good one. Okay, let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Right? Shout out to Candace, Mrs. Owens, and I'm gonna put the original video in the links below, and just make sure you support. Okay.